Just one of you people from CLA, I'm going to read off the 4 names, and if I'm missing anything, raise your hand so I could get your name in there. I've got Joe Wlodarski.
It's me right here.
Okay, Phyllis. There.
Right.
Steve Kluge, Mark Toussaint, and Mark Horwath.
Howarth. Yeah.
Howard. So those are the only ones that are here.
Okay.
Right. 2, 3, 4. All right, it's 1906. We're going to start the meeting. We'll start it with the pledge. You will rise for the pledge. We'll have a moment of silence after that. If you don't have a flag in your room, if you can figure out which way is east, face east, because that's the tradition. And I'll start the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
Stands one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for all. Okay. I don't see anybody from the public that has joined the meeting. We have Diane, I'm admitting now, and Trevor, I'm also admitting now. So I'll give them a minute for them to come up.
Here we are.
Okay, Diane,
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
that's okay. Trevor, you there?
I am. How are you?
Okay, good. We did start the meeting. All we've done so far is the pledge and the moment of silence. I'm going to put a motion to the floor to accept the minutes from our last meeting of September 9th, 2020. And I'd appreciate a second if someone would second that.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Any corrections or additions, or should we accept them as submitted?
They were fine with me.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, nothing for me.
Okay, fine. So we'll mark those as accepted. Next item on the agenda is going to be Director of Finance report. Greg, you want to give us a quick update on where we are?
Yes, good evening. This is the finance update for September 30th, 2020. First, an update on taxes. As of close of business Friday, October 9th, the town had collected $1,566.57 more than it had for this period last year. The deferral period is over and the town has been made whole. We received this year's installment of the waste management settlement of $2.7 million. The balance in this fund is currently $16,563,771.94. There are 2 remaining payments in this settlement. Expenditures and revenues. Expenditures on a cash basis are at 31.9% of budget. On a straight line basis, they would be expected to be at 25%. The front loading of pension, prepayment of health insurance premiums, and bond payments contribute to this. One area of concern that bears watching is police overtime, which is at 32.5% of budget. Salaries are within the 25% expected straight line expenditure pattern. On the revenue side, revenues are at 45.8% of budget. Taxes overall are at 53.7% of budget, with current taxes at 54.8%. Interest income remains an ongoing concern as it is unlikely we will make budget in that area. Aging and youth agency revenues are lagging behind the trend and bear watching. COVID-19 appears to be having a detrimental impact on those agencies' revenues thus far. Overall, on a cash basis, expenditures total $25,179,607.78, and revenues total $47,474,475.35, leaving the town with a positive cash flow of $22,294,867.57. I also like to commend our tax collector, Nancy McGavick, who did an outstanding job during the tax deferral period.
Quick question from Trevor, I guess that's the time for it. So just again, I guess in the police overtime, I thought this was going away with the restructure or whatever, but are they, is this an uptick due to the storms or anything? So just
I haven't had, I pulled this report together very quickly because I wanted to get you the most recent data. And this was just pulled together yesterday. I did not have a chance to talk to the chief. However, I know that there are reimbursements for overtime that are coming from the state basically as we speak. So there's going to be credits to this account. So again, I'm not really alarmed. I'm just making you aware that it's trending right now above budget by, several percentage points. And I'll be keeping my eye on that, and I'll reach out to the chief to make him aware of this and, just keep him on his toes, if you will.
Yeah. No.
Although, I'm pleased with dispatch overtime, which has been a chronic problem for us.
Plague, right.
And
exactly.
that's within budget, and I'm pleased about that.
I agree. Thank you.
Greg?
Yep.
You mentioned we got two more payments to the landfill settlement fund. Are they also going to be 2.7 million, or are they different amounts?
No, 2.7. That's what
Okay.
we can expect. So 5.4 over the next 2 years.
Got it.
Okay. Any other
Craig,
questions? Go ahead, Amy.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Thank you. Will you be able to send us the updated year-to-date report?
Yes. I'll send that to you tomorrow morning. I'll send it to all of you.
Okay. No rush. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Greg? If not, we're going to move on. I'm going to put a motion before the table to transfer $49,344 youth agency from account 10441902-51000 to 10441900-58905. Greg, can you tell us what those count numbers represent?
Yes. The first one, 902, is latchkey personnel, and the second account, org that ends in 00, is the youth self-sustaining program. During the budget process, I spoke to you about this at last meeting, that this budget transfer was going to be coming forward. The expenditure was erroneously left out of the budget. And, you know, I'm not looking to place blame or point fingers. This will fix it. And the reason this is my recommendation, and the reason I'm choosing these accounts is because in the last 2 years, out of the latchkey personnel, the youth agency left 51,000 and 59,000 respectively on the table in that personnel line. So I feel comfortable taking this money out of there. And this is the exact amount that the revenue side of the budget is in this particular self-sustaining program. So revenues will equal expenditures.
Can I have a second on the motion I put on the floor?
Second.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about this? I know this is sort of old business. We've talked about it before, but it's a while ago. If you have any questions, I think myself or Greg could answer them. Other than that, I'll call for a vote on approving this motion. Any questions? All those in favor, raise a hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We're going to go to new business. It has to do with the Candlewood Lake Authority. I'm going to unmute the people and invite them into the meeting. Or if you could unmute yourselves, please do that.
Walter, can you hear me? This is
Yes,
Elaine.
I can, Elaine. I'll update you later. Just take the notes from here on.
I just joined the meeting, thanks to the town of New Milford. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Just take the notes from here on and I'll update you tomorrow on what you've missed.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay. I believe it was last night at the town council, Candlewood Lake Authority presented a request for $60,000 towards the purchase of 2 new patrol boats. I believe that's $60,000 is New Milford share.
That's New
Still gotta
Milford
go-
share, yes.
Still got to go through the rest of the towns to be approval. If possible, I would like one of the people from CLA, their Candlewood Lake Authority, they're all invited in to participate and talk, but right now I'd like, who do you think the best among you
I'll
would
be
be
happy to do it.
to do that? Go ahead, Mark. That's Mark Harwood.
Would you like just a little bit of background in that?
Yes,
Or is-
please.
Okay, great. So I'll be as brief as possible, and if I don't answer your questions, please let me know. But in the last few years, we've been seeing changes on the lake as far as recreation goes. The lake has become very popular and very busy, and this year with COVID and the need and desire for a lot of people to go out and find outdoor recreational opportunities, coupled with the fact that a lot of recreational facilities and areas were closed, seemed to really funnel a lot of people into the lake and create a lot of recreational demands on the lake. Additionally, the CLA started off the season by putting 2 additional boats out on the water for patrol, so that we wouldn't have patrol officers 2 per boat. We were working 1 per boat, but the boats were operating in tandem. What wound up happening was 2 of these boats are now out of service. Between failures, we lost 2 boats this year. Coupled with the fact that we realized that we need an increased presence on the lake to help combat some of the issues. You may have seen that the towns closed, or the power company at the request of some of the towns closed the islands due to recreational pressures. The state ended up closing some of the ramps due to pressures with, problems with COVID and pressures there. So we're looking to replace some of the boats we lost and increase our presence on the water. In order to do so, we need to purchase 2 new boats for next year. These are purpose-built aluminum hulled patrol boats. They cost roughly $150,000 a piece. And that is how we arrived at that initial request for the $60,000 per town to equal roughly $300,000 for the purchase of those 2 boats for next season. They take roughly 6 months to build. So we have a short window of time in which to order these boats, basically by the beginning of November, in order to have them for early May. The other note that I would say is that we just got out of our CLA board meeting. We had a special meeting. We've been shifting meetings around, so we just met before you here. One of the requests that we had received from the town of Brookfield was a request to see what we had that we could contribute to this. Our board, just within the last hour, voted to approve up to $50,000 from the CLA's capital item fund to contribute towards this, to these boat purchases. So in doing so, that would effectively lower our ask to the towns to $50,000 apiece with the $50,000 contribution from the Lake Authority.
Mark, I have a question. Have other towns already approved this, or you still have to present to them? Where are you in that process?
Well, we're at different stages with different towns. As we speak, some of our board members are in the same meeting as we are here with the Brookfield Board of Finance. We have gone through a meeting with the town of Sherman through their Board of Selectmen, a special meeting. They tabled it and they will take it up again next Thursday. They were also wondering what the other towns are doing. And we have had 2 meetings with New Fairfield as well. And I think, if I recall, they are also sort of waiting to see what others are doing. And Danbury, we have spoken to them. They told us that at the current time, they do not have that funding in their budget. And they asked us to return to them in the spring.
Okay. Anybody on the Board of Finance have questions? Diane, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. I do have a question. So you said you just came from a CLA meeting. I'm just wondering the information that you just provided about the various costs of the boats. Did it change tonight from what was discussed at the council meeting in New Milford last night?
No.
No, not the cost of the boats, no.
Okay, great. And I just wanted, as an aside, I just wanted to say I live on the lake a little bit north of the Narrows, and we noticed an incredible uptick in the number of boats and a lot of pretty sketchy behavior. People were not paying attention to the no wake zones. I happen to be a kayaker, and a couple of times, they came scarily close to me. And they also didn't pay attention or didn't understand the passing on the right, law. So increased, who knows what next summer is going to, gonna hold, but increased or at least, at the same level of enforcement is really, really needed. So I think it's a great thing that that you're doing to make sure that the proper, boats are available.
And just thank you. And just so you know, 2 things. One, yeah, we've been saying that Candlewood Lake has been discovered, so we don't expect it to go to go back to what it was 10, 20 years ago, anything like that. so you know, we are also putting forth a plan, and we expect to be adding extra patrol hours out there and running more boats. So we anticipate running and filling in on Wednesdays when if Deep is not able to be out there. We anticipate increasing that. We also are looking to put out patrols later in the evenings, late night patrols until 11 p.m. During the Friday, Saturday, Sunday night time frame. We also anticipate having 4 boats running during peak periods on the weekends and things like that. So we are looking to put out a larger presence. We understand that that is also going to cost more. However, we have worked those numbers between the additional man hours, gas, maintenance, insurance, those kind of things. Through the end of this fiscal year, we anticipate on the high side that would be $10,000, and we expect to be able to move things around in our own budget to be able to cover those additional costs to get those additional patrols out there.
Mark,
Great.
what
Could I
does
just
your
ask
fis-
one follow-up question?
Go ahead, Diane, then Amy.
Thank you. So I've never rented a boat. We have a boat, but a friend came up a couple of years ago and rented a boat. And I can remember when we pulled up to the dock to pick up the boat, the person, you know, giving her the keys gave a little rundown. It was pretty minor. It didn't go into great depth. Do you provide information to marinas to actually hand someone who is renting the boat so that it just doesn't, you know, they don't listen to it and then it's gone? They have actually something that they can look at and understand if they happen to run into a question when they're on that rental boat?
We don't work with rentals in any way like that as far as providing information. I believe that a lot of the rentals, that I don't know how long ago that was, but I believe that they do watch a video, things like that, that they have to go through some sort of training for that. I don't know the specifics. That's a state, you know, DEP.
Do you mean the marinas
regulations
themselves
like
or
that.
the person who's renting the boat?
I'm sorry?
You mean the marina personnel or a person who happens to be renting the boat would have to
Mark,
watch
I
the
could
video?
answer that if you want.
Sure, Phyllis.
On the DEP website, if they're renting the boat and it's for any length of time, they have to get a certificate to show that they have taken a specific course. And there is a course on the DEP website that they can take, and it prints out a certificate. If they want more of the plastic card type of version, they pay an extra fee for that. So it's giving them like a temporary boating license. And particularly for out-of-state boaters, they need to do that. I know that I've been talking with Echo Bay a lot about this, and they're very adamant that people who rent boats from them should have that certificate, because they feel that the uneducated boater is a risk factor out on the lake. The other thing is every year the DEP puts out a boating regulation pamphlet that's easily accessible, and a lot of the marinas have them on hand to hand out to their rental boaters as well. It's a
Thank
boating
you.
guide. Yeah.
Maybe it's gotten better since she rented the boat. It was just for a weekend and there was no handout, there was no video, and she was from out of state.
But I like your suggestion, because it's things like that that you say that sort of spark our interest. And I think it is something that I'd like to bring up to our Public Awareness Committee, to have some sort of a quick flyer on a boating guide type of thing that we could develop, and not just, we can take some of the information off the DEP website. So now I have more stuff to make them do over the winter, because
That's
I
great.
think you're
Thank you, Phyllis.
absolutely right. I appreciate it.
Amy, you have a question?
Yes, hi. So my question is what the plan would be should New Milford decide to move forward and approve the $60,000 contribution if New Fairfield and Sherman decide they want to go the way of Danbury. So
Well,
if not all the towns agree to contribute, what would the plan be at that
I
point?
think, sure. I think if I remember right, last night, at your meeting, I think it was made contingent upon the other towns contributing. So I believe that was part of the town council motion.
Can add
Very
to
good.
that.
Okay,
I've
and that's a
been
moot
on
point.
a similar situation a few years ago when we had to purchase the Robalo boat. And even though we were successful, there was a grant at that time available for the state, which is no longer available, which paid for part of the boat. But we did have to ask each of the 5 towns. Danbury was the last one to sign on board. They tend to wait to see what the other 4 are doing. And then he says, oh, yes, of course, but he's not going to be the first because he's very conservative. But what we did is, and what I would suggest here for you even is to say not to exceed $60,000 so that if we get buy-in from all of the 5 towns with the amount that the CLA would be able to put in, the amount would probably come down so that the ask would be less. We would average it out and not take more from the towns than we need. So, and what I found
Very good. Okay, thank you.
with Mayor Mark is that he waits till the last minute, but he always campaigns being a pro-lake person. So we get to him in the end.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the
Yeah,
board?
Walter, this is Barb. I have a comment and a question.
Go ahead, Barbara.
My comment is, I'm surprised people can rent a boat without showing a boater operator's certificate. That was something that was implemented in this state many, many years ago. And if you were a jet skier like I was, you had to also take an additional 8-hour course to get a jet ski operator's license. I have rented boats with friends in other states, and generally somebody in the boating party had to have a boater operator license. It didn't have to be the person who was making the reservation. It just had to be somebody in the party that was renting the boat. But they did make you show a boater operator certificate. So I don't see why we're not doing the same thing. I mean, our lake is, the configuration of the lake makes it so that you really have to know the rules of the road. Like to your point, Diane, you can really get in trouble with craft that are operating under their own steam, you know, and the difference between kayaks and canoes and no wake zones and speedboats. You really have to be careful, especially in the narrower parts of the lake. So anyway.
Barbara, I agree with you. I mean, it was my understanding that you could not rent a boat without a boater operator certificate. I only think that Mark from Echo Bay had contacted me because he felt that though he requested them and insisted, people were arguing with him when they came to rent a boat that they didn't need it, and he would send them to the state website to prove that they did.
Yeah, oh, good. So I'm glad to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was, I'm not sure who would be able to answer this. As a lay person who doesn't own a boat, I prefer to go on other people's boats.
That's called a smart person, Barbara.
No kidding. I think that sounds awfully pricey for a boat. Can you just give some quick details on what makes these patrol boats different than other boats? You said something about they have to do a build. I mean, these are not available that you can, you know, just buy.
Right, sure. So I'll go into it a little bit, but these boats are commercial grade boats. Historically, the CLA has tried to make do with recreational vessels, fiberglass vessels. Basically, these were fishing boats, center console fishing boats that we would try to repurpose for patrol use. These boats that we're looking at are commercial grade, aluminum hulled patrol vessels designed specifically for patrol use, and the demands and the performance that are necessary for patrol use. The lifespan on these boats is we talked to one of the organizations using these, and one of the brands we're looking at, Silver Ships, is the New Hampshire Marine Patrol. They've been using their boats for since 1999, and they, for instance, actually they just traded in their 1999 boat for a new one that they're going to have, and the numbers they originally bought it for $88,000. They got $52,000 when they traded it in 20 years later. So these are
Wow.
very durable boats and they hold their value.
I'll say.
And New Hampshire said that they anticipate getting 50 years out of the life of their boats. The manufacturers say at least 25 plus longer in freshwater environments. So one of the reasons, and then one of the major reasons we're doing this, is that these boats are designed to last and meet the demands of Candlewood Lake on the weekends and things like that, where they really, our guys and patrol are out there for sometimes 12 hours a day on these boats. And our boats might get, at least 10 times, if not more, use than any other, user on the lake. So our boats and engines go through a lot.
And
Oh.
Diane can attest to the fact that the lake is much choppier and rougher than it used to be, particularly on weekends with the larger wake boats that are out there. So those fishing boats that the Lake Authority has been using have really taken a beating and continue to take a beating, and they just don't hold up to that.
Yeah, and we had this discussion tonight in our meeting. We have our best boat is 4 years old, and it's going to have to go in to be completely reupholstered just by the amount of wear and tear that we're putting on these boats, and that it's a conscious decision that we needed to move into more of a commercial type boat in order to meet the needs that we're dealing with today. Because these boats, our fleet that we have today is ancient and held together with silly putty. And I think that, we need to approach the problem differently.
I'd like
you wanna
to
make a
add to
comment?
that. Can I just add one thing to that? I've been a purchasing agent for 36 years for an engineering company. And I also, in acquiring the Robalo, this recreational boat that we recently had purchased 2 years ago for the town. It's not a purpose-built boat. It was a recreational boat. It has a fiberglass hull. Even the quality of the vinyl that's used in the seats is not the same to take the beating that our boats would normally need. It can't be pulled up to the shoreline in case of an emergency because of the amount of damage that would do to the hull. And I've seen in 2 years what a beating this poor boat has taken, and that boat was $74,000. So if the boat is sort of under stress after 2 years, I certainly think that it's money well spent to purchase an aluminum hull boat that has a 30-year, 40-year life expectancy. It's just the amortization of it is just money well spent rather than to go the cheap route and be sorry. Our patrol, it would be the same type of boat that your police force and your fire department are requesting now all around the water bodies. So.
Trevor, I see you got your hands up. You have questions or comments? Trevor?
Yeah, no, my question was asked before. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments they want to make? All right, Steve, go ahead.
Yep. So, yeah, regarding the $150,000 purchase, what are some of like the specs of the boat? Like how big are these boats?
Sure. The boats that we're looking at are 21 feet in length. And they're outfitted with 250 horsepower Yamaha engines. And they have a T-top center console type setup. And 1/4-inch aluminum hull, They will be outfitted with, the necessary lights and sirens and all of those types of things, the wiring. all
Radios,
done.
yeah.
We'll have all that in there, but it'll be, fully outfitted, comes with a trailer, also delivery, to get them here. So, these will come ready to go and put in the water. We felt that the 21-foot length was probably, is sort of the sweet spot for us as far as size. That's around the size we've been using in the past. We don't feel that a bigger boat is necessarily that much more advantageous to us out there. So we felt 21 was the right size.
Yeah, that was one of my fears, is that you're going to say, oh yeah, we want to get like this water yacht, this massive boat.
Yeah.
When I saw like the price, that's what I kind of figured it would be. But yeah, I'm
no,
glad.
hard to park those things too.
Yeah.
Hard to get them in the docks.
Actually, these boats will be cheaper to operate with less gas usage as well. So much more
Oh, so these
efficient
use less gas than like the
than the
Robalo?
Robalo. Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any further questions? I'm going to modify the motion to, first of all, Greg, where would this money come from? Do you want to just leave it as the discretion of the finance director at this point in time? Or do you want to look at capital?
Actually, I was
resolve?
asked by the mayor and council where I was going to get the money from, and I have no problem committing to that. Right now, my intent would be to take it out of the capital reserve fund. So
Okay,
it wouldn't be the general fund.
Okay, do you want me to have the motion say that, or you just want to leave it as at your discretion?
You could leave it at my discretion because, frankly, at the end of the year, I'll get a better idea of what our general fund looks like. And if our general fund can absorb it, so be it.
Okay, and just to clarify with Mark Horwath, you're looking at ordering the boats now, but the actual payment of the boats aren't going to be till sometime in the spring?
Well, that sort of depends on, we have two prime candidates that we have for the boats. One does have net 30 terms, the other would require deposit upfront, and then also when they start construction, then the final payment at delivery. So they're slightly different terms.
Okay.
But in order to, we need to get some clarification in order to order them. I don't know that, we may get some, clarification from town attorneys, but in order to order them, we may need to have that money already, in hand before we can place an order. We'll have to get some clarification from the towns.
This is Greg Ossopow again. Mark, how would this work? Would we be cutting a check to the Candlewood Lake Authority, and then you in turn would pay the vendor? How would this
Correct.
work? That's
Yes,
the way it would
correct.
work. So you'd send every town an invoice.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the motion.
Based on the final number that it came out to.
Correct.
Okay, the motion then would be to approve up to $60,000 to the Candlewood Lake Authority, taken from an account at the discretion of the Director of Finance for the purchase of 2 new patrol boats. Steve, I'll get you in a second, unless you want to amend that.
No, I just had a question before we vote on it.
Go ahead.
So regarding the boats, I know a lot of people with COVID have been out on the lake, and it's definitely a lot busier than it has been. Do we expect after COVID, the dust settles that the lake it won't be as busy as it was this year? Do we feel that we need 2 boats, or should we start with maybe just 1, or and just feel it out? Or
one of the things that we've noticed is that some of the challenges that we're faced with from a patrol standpoint started have been building over the last couple of years. So yes, COVID exacerbated a situation that was already in process of happening. So I don't expect that, the challenges are going to be any different post-COVID. We're also dealing with more difficult patrol problems. The types of people that are out there, as Diane alluded to, has changed over the last couple of years. So we don't anticipate, and the board has talked about this, some sort of dramatic reversal to the state that it existed in the past.
And Steve,
Yeah.
Steve, you should also understand that we're down 2 boats. So we're not trying to add boats right now. We're trying to break even.
Okay.
It's not like we're increasing the size of our fleet. We have 2 boats that are basically being decommissioned because of hull failure. And so these boats are replacing boats that we're taking out of service.
Okay.
And we had done I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, those boats are toast. So those two boats, there's nothing they can't be repaired. They're toasted.
Yes. So what wound up, just real briefly, and we had sort of done this in a formal presentation, which maybe illustrated it a little bit easier. But just so you know, one of the boats that went down was our environmental / staff boat that we go out and do water quality on. We pushed that into dual service this year with the patrol in order to have those number of boats out there. That boat was 27 years old, and the hull failed. The tower started falling off. It was unsalvageable. It's a hull failure. The other boat was a patrol boat that is 23 years old, I think.
23.
97. Yep. And that boat also had a hull failure. The fiberglass hulls, once they start taking on water, get waterlogged, it's all hidden beneath the hull there, which is one of the advantages of the aluminum, that you can see everything and make repairs a lot easier than you could for anything fiberglass.
Thank you. And then also, I assume going forward we're going to have a capital plan put in place for next year's budget.
We will be including revised numbers for our capital plan for future budgets, correct? Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
One of the things that Councilman Esposito suggested last night that I thought was a great idea is that perhaps the 5 towns could consider setting up a CLA, capital replacement account that could be funded annually at a relatively low level, and then every 10 years when we need to buy a boat, we're not in a position of making an ask of this size. It's just food for thought, but I thought that was a pretty rational idea.
Yeah, kind of like what our fire departments have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, the motion was read. Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll
What do you
second
want?
it.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Any further discussion? If not, we'll vote on the motion.
Can you read out the motion, Walter?
Elaine, can you read it back?
Oh, let me just get to it. It is, let's see, how many pages back was it? Wasn't that far back.
Hey, Walter, this is Trevor. I have a quick question. I mean, I know we're going to vote on this at the same time, but do we also consider to table this until we do hear from what the rest of the towns are, or even the town council? At this point? I mean, do we want to hear feedback?
Yeah,
or it makes sense for a joint meeting with these other towns? Has that ever been considered in the past?
For a joint meeting, I'm not sure. I do know from talking with council members and information tonight that there is a time constraint here. There's 5 to 6 month lag time, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark or anybody, on the construction of these boats on delivery. So our next meeting is not until the middle of November. That could potentially push back their ordering in this to June, July, or delivery till June, July.
Correct.
And again, the motion that I had placed is similar to what the town council did. It's contingent upon the other towns
Okay,
agreeing to it. So we're not committing anything unless the other towns agree to it at this point in time.
understood.
Okay. Barbara, did my little talk there on the motion with the answer your question, or do you want Elaine to dig out and reread the whole thing?
Well, it was a motion that we're gonna tentatively approve this money contingent on on all 5 towns doing their contribution, and that the money, although we want it to come from CAP, we're thinking of it, we're gonna not put that in. It's gonna be at the discretion of the finance director and the mayor.
You've got the gist of it correct, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right, it carries. That's the last item on our agenda for tonight. Greg, could you email, since Elaine came in late, the numbers from your report?
Yes, I'll do. I was going to suggest that. So I'll touch base with you tomorrow, Elaine.
Okay.
All right.
On behalf of CLA, thank you guys very much.
And I'd
Yeah,
like
thank
to
you.
add,
We
I'd like to
appreciate
add
all you
my
people.
thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate all you people coming and giving us an explanation on this.
Thank you
Uh,
for the time.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any new business they want to bring up?
I think Phyllis wanted to add something.
No, just my thanks very much. We've listened to, over the years, the complaints and concerns of the residents and the people that recreate on Candlewood Lake. And my concern is to address those complaints and try to provide the protection that's needed there, and also act as a deterrent to what I consider inappropriate boating and recreational behavior. And the one thing that we forgot to mention is these boats are also taller, so they sit higher in the water. Wait, I'm gonna get rid of.
Sounded like a scream.
It's probably someone telling me my car warranty expired. The car I don't have that I sold 3 years ago or whatever. So really, that's the other thing, because this is something that our patrol officers shared with us. These boats are taller in the water. When you pull up to a boat, it's much easier to get cooperation when you're looking down on someone than when their boat is bigger than yours. And you have all of these pontoon boats that are rafting, and the patrol boats sit lower in the water, these recreational ones we have. So it's not quite the same effect that we get. So we think that the officers themselves will feel safer, as well as getting the right response when we tell somebody that they need to change some of their behavior on the lake. So I think it's a win-win for the towns, as well as for the people that use the lake will feel safer. And hopefully we can address the noise at the same time. So thank you again.
Okay. Since there is no more new business, the next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
Make a
Put that
motion.
up. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next scheduled meeting is, I believe, the second Tuesday in November, because the second Wednesday, excuse me, is Veterans Day. So I believe we're meeting the Tuesday before, but I'll send out an email to everybody on that. And I'll see you guys in November.
Thank
Good
you.
to
all.
see everyone.
Take you out on the boat.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm sorry I'm late.
Don't worry about it, Elaine. I'll call you in the morning, Elaine.
And I'll talk to Greg. Thanks, Greg.
Okay.